Hello, podcast listener. This is your host with the most, JJ Gordon. You're listening to JJ Meets World. So if you plan on listening to the rewatchables, you are on the wrong podcast page. But stick around because we have got a Shark Tank-like feature. We're going to try something brand new with diet soda, and we're going to figure out whether or not I should be buying something off Facebook Marketplace. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. JJ Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. JJ has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
We put my dog down, and Jill doesn't want me using the term put down. She's like, I think it sounds kind of cruel and it's old. And I'm like, you know what? There's some truth to there. But I'm also not going to say like Neely traversed the Rainbow Bridge, because I don't think that. So I'm like, I've come to this thing of like, we said goodbye to Neely, right? And I wasn't going to post about it on social media. I was going to, not that I was keeping it secret by any means. I mean, I've talked about it here. I talked about it on my radio show. But I just decided, like, you know what? I don't need something that's like attention grabby or something like that. Well, Jill said, you should put it up there because there's a lot of people who are going to be wondering what happened to our other dog. We have neighbors, you know, things like that. And so I put a post up, and man, oh man, the love bombing that happened was awesome. And I understand this because a lot of people are saying sorry for your loss. You know, they have such a place in our heart. We have come to the point where pets are just as important as the people who are in our families. And I want to thank everyone who reached out and, you know, shared their condolences and, you know, some funny stories like, oh, I remember that time that you were walking your dog past our house and she stepped on a bee and you had to carry her the whole way home. Be like, yeah, I remember that too, because she was 50 pounds and there was like 6 blocks. It was so far. And so we were very sad that we had to let our sweet girl go. But I want to call out the emergency vet. Awesome. They were fantastic. They did, you know, their room where they let us, you know, be comfortable and with the dog and all these things. And this is something I thought was really funny. They said, would you like her to have some treats? And I said, sure. You know, if she'll eat some treats, that's great. And they're like, we like to give them chocolate, because they're not supposed to have chocolate. It's deadly to animals. But you know what? You might as well go out with a bang. And so they offered her like a Hershey's Kiss and an Oreo cookie. And I thought that was one of the most adorable things I had ever seen in my life. So that was a hard way for us to get into the holiday week, but also things have been so busy. Now our big problem is we have a poodle named George. George was my mom's. We inherited when my mom passed. When George was brought into my mom's house, she had another poodle named Tiffy. And then my mom passed, and then we ended up having George and Neely and Poopface and Kramer, 2 dogs and a cat. And then the 2 cats died, and now Neely's gone. This is the first time George has been without. And he's not doing really, like, he doesn't really understand what's going on, because he's a dog that loves attention. And so even though he and Neely, it's not like they curled up together and like slept on the couch while we were gone, but it was another presence in the house.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think at minimum, George understands this is my family unit. Right?
Yes.
This is part of my pack.
Yes.
And so at minimum, George is going, where's that other big, you know, gray, fluffy pack member?
So now we have to get a cat, a dog, or a baby, just to kind of even things out.
I like that you're gonna
for the poodle.
You should go get a baby. Yeah,
you
let's
know,
go pick one out.
We'll arrange for a baby.
Go to the
one
shelter.
Of these things. Okay, I have a very specific subject I'd like to bring up today, which is JJ Gordon's $1 million ideas, and we're gonna treat this a little bit like a Shark Tank. and I'm going to pitch you ideas, and you are going to tell me
and
whether
I'm
you'd
the
invest.
shark.
You're the shark.
I'm the shark.
Now,
Okay.
I want you to not treat this as if like
Because I'm gonna be like, I'll buy in for $10.
right. I want you to think about this in the idea of like, okay, could this actually work, or is it too kitschy, stuff like that?
I'm gonna pretend like I've got 20 million in seed capital just sitting underneath me.
That's the thing. You have 20 million in seed capital that you're going to. So it's not like you're putting your last 10,000 into it, right?
And I like that we've got a budget of 20 million, so I can offer you different amounts of that 20 million. It's too bad that I have 20 million, because that's bad for me from the negotiating standpoint.
I'm not going to ask for percentages. I'm just going to ask.
But maybe I have more that I haven't brought up yet.
In fact, it's less of a Shark Tank and more of a manatee tank.
And we have no idea how fungible the 20 million I'm sitting at. It could all be platinum bars.
Maybe they're all NFTs. Maybe you're sitting on 20 million of like really sweet NFTs.
Yeah, it's a NFT of an anteater just hanging out watching soccer.
There you go. Okay. Idea number 1. JJ Gordon's Gorko, as I'm calling it, silicone apple. Now, I recently just celebrated Thanksgiving. It's a big turkey holiday, and people make turkey. One of my go-to tips that I notice a lot of other people are doing now is you don't put the stuffing in the bird anymore, where you've decided that is a salmonella nightmare. And so instead, we're filling the cavity with different things that kind of give off like a moisture, okay? So you're chopping up an onion into big hunks. You're putting an apple in there. I know some people who put oranges inside.
But these are things you're not going to eat because of the
Bingo,
salmonella?
exactly.
Okay.
Essentially, you're putting in them in there so that as the turkey starts to cook, these things more or less like steam and keep the inside of the turkey moist so that you're not drying out your bird.
Right.
Okay? So the JJ Gordon silicone apple looks like an apple, right? But you can twist the top off and you fill it with aromatic things. So you fill it with some fresh herbs, but then you're also filling it with water or maybe some chicken stock, something like that. And then you place one of these inside the cavity of the turkey. And you might be saying to yourself, okay, so how much is this silicone apple? Well, it's $20. Okay, well, an apple is like 10 cents. So why wouldn't I just put an apple in there? Because the apple doesn't contain these other aromatic aspects. Then you take it out, you just pop it in your dishwasher, you're good to go. It is food safe, it is dishwasher safe, and you could actually use it in other places where you might want to steam something. So, for example, Steamin' Mama is a big thing right now for putting inside your microwaves, and you fill this little cavity, and it looks like a woman going ah, and then steam comes out the top of her head. But essentially you warm up water, and
is this a real thing?
Yeah,
'Cause I want to invest in that.
Angry Steamin' Mama, yeah, because and then you essentially wipe your microwave clean. So so it's a microwave cleaner.
Oh, that's smart.
So you could
Pitch
do
me
the
that.
same thing with a silicone apple.
Okay.
Right? So it's got multiple uses, multiple purposes for you.
Sure.
Plus, it looks like an apple, and it's kind of a fun thing. You can keep it in your kitchen. It's not something that is very weird. There's one other product I've seen that is even similar to this, and I saw it in the clearance bin at my grocery store, but don't take that. And it was called the Turkey Sub. And so it looked like the Beatles' Yellow Submarine, and it had a big porthole thing that came out the top so that you could steam your turkey from the inside. So, but theirs was ceramic. And so, and it certainly, like, the nice thing about the silicone apple is it is a little malleable because it's silicone, so you can fit it into different cavities. It would go great on a turkey. It would go great if you're making, like, beer butt chicken, let's say. You could fill it with beer and then not have to cook the chicken in the upright.
I am worried about the possible liability issues of this thing being put into cavities it's not supposed to go into.
Such as?
Well,
Give me a specific.
I mean, a street porthole.
A street porthole.
You wouldn't want it to go into one of those.
Okay.
Right?
So I would
You wouldn't want it to go inside of the glove compartment of your car.
If you were going to bake the inside of your
Definitely
car?
not going to. You definitely don't want to do that.
I
right?
mean, we also did
you don't
some
want to put it
testing.
in your butt.
Oh, that's another place that you don't want to be. So the street
Definitely another
portholes,
place.
glove compartments, and butts.
For sure, to name a few. And I'm really worried about, Americans don't really read instructions that often.
Hey, good news. We actually tested this with the NRA, where we filled it full of flammable liquid and threw it up in the air and then let people take just like straight up shots at it. And the silicone is thick enough and in kind of that rubbery, like, it's not quite Kevlar, but it's close, and no explosions took place. They did hit it several times, but nothing that caused, a giant gas ball.
Where is it Gorco or Gordco?
Gorco. Gorco.
Where is
There's already a Gordco, and the problem is it's Gourd, and they make they're growing gourds, and I don't want to be confused with them because they've got some pretty off political views.
How ethical is Gordco's silicon mining facility efforts?
Oh, not at all. In fact, it's the cheapest.
Good.
It's the cheapest possible.
Because that's good. Because that lowers your overhead.
Right.
Right.
Just like the cocoa that's produced, is really only produced like in 7 countries, and most people who mine cocoa never actually taste chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these people will never be able to afford a turkey to cook.
Are you open for other potential configurations of the design, such as maybe it's a pumpkin?
No.
Or a golden retriever?
No.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. In the initial planning stages, we did have several other shapes. We had one that was an orange, we had a pear, and all of those did end up in butts. So the apple was the least likely to be inserted into a cavity of a human being. And so I thought that would make this the easiest one.
Understood. Okay. Well,
also, it would not look like a Red Delicious apple. It would look like a Honeycrisp apple.
Oh,
I don't know if that sways you at all, but I think it's important I note that.
there are 2 things that you could do to get me to yes.
Okay.
For $1 million in seed capital.
Wow, because we only actually need 1,000.
That's great, but I'm ready to put down $1 million on this if we can make 2 things happen. You make it a Cosmic Crisp apple, which is
From the University of Washington?
sweeter than the Honeycrisp.
Uh-huh.
And you do make a second, maybe just a template or a Model 1 of one that's shaped roughly in the shape of a banana. I'd say 4 to 6 inches in length, with a hilt at the end to stop any further penetration than 6 inches would be great. And I'll give you $1 million.
So I can make 50% of that happen. Cosmic Crisp, no issue there. No issue whatsoever. They're both crisp apples. I can just a little redder for the Cosmic. The problem is that the other company I talked about, Gordco, Gourd, is already making the banana silicone steamer.
You know what? And that's okay because I really meant to say carrot.
Oh, sold. All right. How much percentage of the company you on?
Oh, give me a solid 22.
Okay, you got it. 22%. Let's shake on it.
No, 22 shares.
22 shares.
Yes.
I actually don't know anything about business, so I don't know quite what that means. So does that mean that you own...
That sounds like a man I can trust.
Okay.
I'll shake you right there.
Oh, boy, you're chewing tobacco.
All right. Pleasure
All right.
doing business with you.
Pitch number 2. As we know, the internet is here to stay. As I remember back in the mid-90s when people thought it was going to be a fad. But no, the internet is a part of our daily life. We're checking stock prices. We're checking sports scores. And we're even entertaining meeting new people.
I just sent an email to my cousin.
In electronic mail?
Yep.
See, the internet is here. You, sir, even use it. I don't know if you've heard about the popular website for people to connect with their heroes called OnlyFans. My idea is that we use the goodwill and the fact that so many people are already on the OnlyFans to start OnlyFrans. It is a website dedicated to women named Fran. Now, our spokesperson would be Fran Drescher, the nanny. And I think that if you look at a modern keyboard, you'll notice that the R is kind of close to the A. And so people might accidentally hit the R and then come to our website. It would also feature the mother dinosaur from the show Dinosaurs, Fran Sinclair. Other Frans, Fran Tarkington would be on there, who's a famous football star. So we have a lot of Frans out there that we would like. Now you might say, listen, this is pretty niche. It's going to bring the number of people who would go to your website down. And I say, that's fine. Because you know what? Sometimes when you take too big a bite of the apple, especially a silicone apple, you can choke. This is a good enough bite that you'll eventually grow into other types of things that play off of the OnlyFans brand, right? So another website is OnlyFans with a Z, and we sell ceiling fans. And we call our fans with a Z because they've got a Z shape at the end of every single one of the fan blades, which when blown fast enough sounds like zzz, because as we know, there's nothing more comforting while you sleep than the sound of a beehive.
As a corporate tycoon stock character, I'm really worried about the potential involvement of Fran Drescher. I mean, she might unionize the Frans, and that's going to just send our costs way up. I don't know, is there a particular state of the country you would like to try to maybe start a pilot program
Yes,
in?
this is, in fact, it will only be accessible in the state of New Hampshire. That's part of it. If you had to guess how old Fran Drescher was, and this is the reason I say it, because I don't think that there's a lot of lead left in that pencil, right? I know we all thought, okay, so she did this thing, but I mean, she's no spring chicken. If you had to guess how old Fran Drescher is, how old do you think she is?
How does this affect your pitch?
Because eventually she won't be able to mobilize people. Because she'll just, she'll have figured it's time for me to go. Like the mighty oak who burns during a forest fire, it's time for saplings.
I know, but anti-aging is happening, and AI and internet's still a thing. I'd say she's got to be in her early 60s.
She's 66.
That is
Going on 67.
much earlier than 67.
It is. Well, much earlier. 66 going on 67.
Listen, I'm a corporate tycoon. I know what I'm talking about with money.
Right. And you have a
And
calculator
numbers.
in front of you,
I
so
do.
you're clearly very smart.
I do. So I'll give you at least $1 million in seed capital, at least the potential of $2 million if you can find a Fran that's roughly 4 to 6 inches in length with a solid 1/4-inch diameter. And maybe some kind of a hilt.
So you're looking
Just
for
to make-
a PHRAN, a Fran.
just to make sure that it doesn't go too deep. Too deeper than 6 inches would be
All
too
right.
much.
I think I can accomplish this, but I have a question back to you now that because it's not just money, but I need guidance. So I don't own a computer, and my phone is a flip phone. So I'm going to need to be put in touch with a Steve Jobs or a Steve Jobs equivalent to build whatever to this website. The functionality of which I assume is going to be a wheel on the homepage, and when you click the wheel, it circles and circles and circles, and then it decides what Fran you will interact with.
Well, I'm really excited to hear that. And I work with a tech giant, someone who I've been kind of, afraid to bring up his name because I don't want to be someone who's sort of a name dropper or anything like that. But his name is Steve Volunteer Opportunities. And he's almost as good as Steve Jobs. But he really tends to not bring in any money.
Okay.
So just be aware of that.
So a dreamer.
Yeah, a real dreamer.
Okay. I love that.
But if you want to talk to Steve Volunteer Opportunities,
Okay.
then yeah, I think we can maybe make something happen.
All right.
I'm still not hearing anything about that Fran that's roughly
The
4 to 6 inches.
PHRAN. Yeah, we'll get that in production immediately because I have a factory.
Okay, excellent. $2 million.
And
$2 million.
okay, fantastic.
Hey, so you've only spent $3 million of my $20 million hard-earned inherited money.
Let's seal the deal. I am going to slice open my palm here,
Yep.
and
I will
cross
spit
it with
right
blood.
into it.
Oh God, it's formed a crust. All right, my third thing.
I'm
that
inside you now.
my third thing that I'd like to pitch
Roughly
to you
4 to
today
6 inches.
is a concept that I think is going to revolutionize the music business. So when you think of music, you probably are thinking it's just so difficult to get it. It's hard to find it. It's hard to know when new artists are arriving and releasing something. And probably the most frustrating part of it all is how are you going to get it inside of your home, your office, your vehicle, and potentially even a boat?
Right.
So I've come up with this idea. Now, if you look at this, this is a 4.5-inch piece of digital plastic, okay? And on one side, we're going to use lasers to inscribe the information that will be from the actual music. And on the other side, you can use a Sharpie or stickers or any other kind of permanent object to tell you what actually is on this disc so that you can remember. And
It's almost like an MP3, but like it's been flattened
Correct.
outside of a computer.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm calling this the Jam Pancake because you listen to your jams and it's shaped and flat like a pancake is.
So a JP.
JP, yep.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a JP player in your vehicle. You're going to have a JP player at your desk. My cousin, Carl Bose, has been working on a new type of player to play JPs. Ultra expensive, but you know what? You're worth it.
Okay.
He's going to get a store at the Mall of America, not in the actual mall, but he'll sell them out of the back of his hatchback in the Texas part of the parking lot, which is a picture of a cowboy boot.
So you're saying, I'm out in the Caribbean on the ocean. I'm in my yacht. One of them, the one that I like to use for winter.
The good yacht.
The winter yacht. And I'm thinking I'd really like to listen to some tunes, but there's really no way.
Some jams.
Some jams, really.
Unfortunately, we will not be able to play tunes, only jams. And I know that I've been turned down by 6 banks already.
Jams, my son has been listening to those, and he's been trying to get me into it. So,
What's
it's
your son's name? Jamal?
Timothy Williker. We call him T-Dubs.
Okay, so so you refer to him as both his beginning and middle name.
Yep.
And then you just T-Dubs.
Timothy Williker is the full first name. It's hyphenated, but T-Dubs is he was we consummated him at a Buffalo Wild Wings right after,
which is B-Dubs.
Yep, right after it was built.
I love that. All right, so you're listening on your
different.
yacht.
We wanted to do something different than like a ribbon cutting,
Oh, I fully. In fact, I think that's a genius idea. You could open up a branch of restaurants that are just solely for that purpose of christenings.
Yeah, some people just throw champagne, but that's expensive.
Right.
And we didn't have any ribbons, so I improvised.
Right, and you don't. I think the big problem I see when they christen a boat is like what happens when children play in that area.
Yeah. But yeah, so T-Dubs has been listening to a lot of jams, is what he's been saying. He's been hitting the hard Z, which makes me a little uncomfortable. But I think there's different mores for different generations.
What was that word you used?
Moray, like the eel.
Oh no, you said used.
Used. Yeah.
Meaning what?
Meaning what?
What?
And he's listening to jams. And I'm on my yacht. And I think, what? If I have a JP unit here, I could pump some jams up for my son.
And it would
Timothy
probably.
Williker.
I'm assuming that your relationship with your son is
strained. It's strained. It's really strained.
And so
I just found out he was existing.
What an opportunity for you and T-Dubs to, find that bond between father and son, because one unique aspect of this is that there is it skips so poorly all the time that eventually you can toss it back and forth between the two of you.
That's great.
You can have a catch. And I think that I would like you actually, whether you invest or not, I'd like to give you this JP unit.
Oh, this is great. Look at this thing. I love it. I love the construction of it. I love how it's, roughly 4 to 6 inches in length. And
It
looks
takes-
like it's got a solid, about a nickel diameter,
It takes 9 D batteries.
There's no hilt.
You'll get about 10 minutes of use out of it.
How am I supposed to take this on a plane if there's no hilt?
Oh, that's the nice thing is because the JP unit gives off such intense heat, you would they actually will plug it into the plane itself and it'll keep the baggage compartment warm. Now, that means that you unfortunately will not be able to enjoy any jams while you are there, unless you are flying Southwest Airlines, in which case we have an exclusive deal and there will be a JP unit with every single seat.
Are we at all worried about litigation from Steven Spielberg and Amblin Entertainment over JP often being associated with Jurassic Park?
I am not familiar with what you're talking about.
It's a movie. It's got, I think, Godzilla in it.
Okay.
And it's worth a lot of money.
Is this Godzilla some kind of teen craze, or is it...
I'll ask T-Dubs, actually.
Okay.
I'll have to check in with him again. He's just entering 14.
I am not worried about any type of litigation because I've already purchased a web domain, actually from the gentleman that was just in here, called onlyjps.com.
Okay.
And so that's the prime
Does
place
that
that
do
we'll
with
be
the
selling
Russian
it.
accent you were just talking to a minute ago?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that the
Thick.
thing you'll like the most about partnering with me in this is that I have an extra bedroom at my home that you would be welcome to stay in for not more than 13 days at a time. 13 is the max. And it's available to you whenever you need it, as long as you come on a Monday and you're never staying past that next Wednesday after.
Follow-up question, is it okay if I bring my bicycle inside?
Oh, of course. Okay. I mean, it's a barn, so it's very easy. There are two giant doors on either side.
Excellent.
And there's usually at least one stall that's open from where I'm breeding velociraptors.
So, I'm here. I'm the shark. You are in my tank.
right?
Right.
Yes.
And I've already graciously given you $3 million
Yep.
in seed capital that I inherited from generations of men who stole it. Meaning it's mine.
Yep.
To do with what I please,
And I also appreciate
including set it on fire. So you tell me, what is it you're looking for investment in the JP?
I'm going to need $10 million. And this is why $10 million would really make the JP unit fly. My son was kidnapped by pirates, and I need $10 million to get him back. And he's the only one who knows the password to get onto our Only JP's website. And so to unlock the power of the JP, I'm going to need to get him back from those pirates, and $10 million would do it. And it took me 6 months between the application process and then shooting this episode today. So there's a real hard chance that he's passed at this point. And that's why I have that open bedroom, because my wife left me, and my son, Jimothy, would really love to come home. I think, unless he's become, I don't know what it's called when you start to identify with your captors,
Right.
And you get into that situation,
Right.
Because the last one he sent me,
It's
he
a
said
gastroenteritis, I think.
Oh, that's
Something
right.
like that, yeah.
He said in his letter, which was written in blood, it said, "Do you know what the pirate's favorite letter is?" And then it said "turn over," and I said to myself, probably R. And on the back it said "no," as if he knew what I was going to say already. And he said, "It's the C."
Okay, how about this? Let's see if they'll take 5. And if they can't do 5, I know a guy in South Korea who could probably just brute force his way in past that password firewall for like 1 1/4.
Okay.
And then we'll just use the rest to get you a new son who isn't so careless in who he hangs out with and looking over his shoulder. I've taught Timothy Williker, or T-Dubs, that it's really, really good to always be aware, like Jason Bourne, of where you are at all times. And I'm really sorry that Jimothy just
who's
didn't have
that?
the upbringing necessary to keep him safe.
Right.
Right.
Is that someone who's famous? We only watch Laserdiscs.
So really just see if the Pirates want to take $5 million. And if not, then we'll fuck them, Like we'll use my South Korean guy.
While you were monologuing there, I texted the Pirates and they said no to $5 million, and they've shown me they've sliced a piece off of Jimothy, and it's probably about 5.5 inches long, and the diameter is like if you took two Sharpies worth of diameter, and
The hilt. Tell me about the hilt.
the hilt is only going to one side, and it looks like as though it's just containing maybe two other small weapons inside of it.
Okay, tell them $4.75 and a couple Diet
They're
Cokes.
I can see they're no longer active on Telegram, so maybe they're having lunch.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
want me to leave? I feel like I should.
actually, you know what's better? No, I think what actually would be better is let's just say this. Let's just call the 10 mil a write-off,
Okay.
right? Unless we can just say, well, we had to pay this, but unfortunately, they're kidnappers, and they did not live up to their part of the thing. You just take that 10 million. I'm going to show you this little bank account. You put it in over here, and then we're just going to get a royal tax deduction off of your son's untimely death. And I'll buy in for, I don't know, 7,
Okay.
20%.
20%.
Yeah.
Okay. I was hoping that you'd want 5 shares, but 5 shares could be worth 20%.
Oh, I'm sorry. 20% of just one share.
20% of a single share.
Just 20% of one share.
Okay. Well, I guess there's no other way to seal the deal, but I will disrobe.
And I will.
Tucker, I'm going to do something that no other person on the world has done. I have a Diet Coke from McDonald's in front of me, and I have a Diet Pepsi from the movie theater.
How much aspartame is going in you right now?
So I'm going to be a living god, and I'm going to drink both at the same time. I have 2 straws.
ethos.
So do you see this? You
I'm
see
looking
the
at
straw
it.
from one, like.
And I mean, I can attest to one being a Diet Coke because I just picked it up for you. And the other one, they wouldn't put Coke in a Pepsi.
Right.
That looks like a movie theater Pepsi.
It is a movie theater Pepsi.
Those hit the best.
Okay, ready?
He's changing in front of me.
It's so unholy.
Do you regret doing that?
I do.
What?
But now I've done it.
I mean, really, you're just getting 2 different syrups, right?
No. Okay. I used to work with a dude.
Diet Pepsi sucks, and I love Pepsi.
Okay. So I was just telling a story last night that when I was doing commercial kitchens, I was helping build the new snack hut at the Byron Dorgan International Airport in Grand Forks. And I was working with an old school construction guy named Kevin. Okay. So Kevin was a guy, unfortunate set of circumstances, because he had been in Montana doing his own thing, and his truck caught fire and burned to the ground with all of his tools in it.
Ugh.
And he had liability only.
Oh, shit.
So he was starting from the ground up, and he hadn't made a bunch of money. So he came back to Fargo and was living with his dad. And so he was kind of taking odd jobs that he could find. And so that was one of these, right? And like very skilled, but didn't have a grinder anymore. So like every time he got paid, he already knew it was going to go and to buy this type of tool. So we get done, and it's the middle of the summer. And the thing no one tells you about commercial kitchens is when you work with stainless steel, like cooktops and stainless steel workspaces and stuff like that, if they're out in the sun for even 5 seconds, they become 1,000,000 degrees. And the kitchen guys, like kitchen equipment guys, are usually brought in after they've run electrical. It's not finished yet, and they've put in tile, and like a lot of stuff is finished in the interior by the time you come in,
Right.
which is stupid because you've got to carry like these things. We had to carry them up 3 flights of stairs to be able to get them in place. Anyway. So Kevin, on like the 3rd day in a row that we'd been working up there, we stop at this gas station in Grand Forks before we drive back to Fargo, and he buys a room temperature 2-liter of Diet Pepsi. And he walks out, opens it up, and glug, glug, glug. Doesn't drink the whole thing, but has a bunch. And then he always gives the same like, ugh. And I said, Kevin, WTF? What are you doing here? And he goes, I love the burn. And I said, the what? And he goes, the burn on my throat. And he was a big smoker, right? And so like he was like, I love the burn. I love the burn. Makes me feel alive. And I'm like, wait, you love the burn? And he goes, try some. And now I wasn't gonna sip off of some of his.
You want to
Diet
hit
Pepsi.
this Diet Pepsi?
You want to hit this room temperature, saliva based like little tip. And so I wasn't going to do that. That was a non-starter. But the next day, he bought me a 2-liter of Diet Pepsi. Now, I'm driving a car. Have you ever tried to drink a 2-liter while you drive a car?
No.
Horrible idea, right? So I got it. So he's like, try it. And so I took a big swig, and sure enough, it does. Like, Diet Pepsi really burns
Pepsi
on your
burns
throat,
too, yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's very acidic. It's like the most acidic soda.
Really?
Yeah. Or if it's not it's one of the. Yeah, for sure. Like, it's been a while since I've been to the dentist, but my dentist had a poster up rating the acidity of all of these drinks: coffee, orange juice, XY. You name it, it's on there. And so the lower it was, the more acidic it was. And so Diet Coke was actually fairly high. It was actually fairly up there, surprisingly. Pepsi, regular Pepsi, was one step above battery acid.
A step above.
A step above battery acid. So it was Pepsi and then battery acid.
Oh, boy.
That's
My.
Yeah. So very acidic.
Well, sometimes you learn something new every day, don't you?
And I mean, I drink coffee, tea, and Pepsi when I'm not drinking water. And so, like, I drink all the acidity stuff, basically. I should be just crushing orange juice.
What about your guts? Like, do you ever like worry about like your bladder or the walls of your intestines with drinking stuff that's so acidic?
No,
or your liver?
No, I mean, I'm not necessarily. I don't think I'm drinking them at a rate that is that much beyond what normal people are drinking. Soda's actually pretty rare for me. It's almost always coffee and water. Those are like the two things.
In fact, I'm kind of shocked we're recording this and you don't have a cup of coffee in front of you.
Right, but it's not morning.
Do you dip anything in coffee? Do you dip donuts in it? Or
I would if I had. Oh, absolutely. Especially what are they called? Those Stroop waffles.
Oh yeah, delightful. Do you know the trick on a Stroop waffle is you get a hot cup of coffee and you put it over the
Let it
top,
sit.
and then it gets all melty. It's so good.
So good. Anytime I've bought Stroop waffles at the grocery store, it's within 15 minutes. They're gone. I can't keep them. I wish I had the level of willpower to just keep a whole supply of Stroop waffles, because I bet they'd last you for a while.
Yeah. At Costco, you can buy pre-made mini pancakes. And they come, like, you get a big bag, and then inside the bag, there's little individually wrapped, and it comes with 2, like, silver dollar pancakes that are pre-made. And you can throw them in the microwave and heat them up. You can just eat them straight out of the bag or whatever. And they make me really sad about the state of our country, because I have been to Costco when those have been sold out.
Oh.
And my wife, we got a bag because we wanted to try them. I had one and I'm like, nope, this isn't necessarily my thing. And Jill like got into it, and they're so sugary that if she's having like a low blood sugar moment, she can eat one of those waffle or one of those pancakes and be like, bing. Mm-hmm. I am always surprised when it comes to the things that people are willing to dunk into coffee, because I caught her dunking her little mini pancake into coffee, right?
That seems absolutely reasonable, especially if it's, like a spongy carb.
Yeah, right. I mean, right. That's why donuts are constantly there.
Hell yeah.
But we're not experimenting with other things that we could be dunking into coffee.
What are we talking about?
Okay, why not a French fry? Does it have to be sweet to dunk it in coffee? Because the French fry is also very starchy. It can also take up liquid.
I want to look down on it, but at the same time, you know what? I think the thing with dipping a salty thing in anything is you're looking for, if it's not a soup or a beer cheese, I don't think coffee is really adding anything to it whatsoever. It's just getting kind of wet and coffee-like. But then again, I dip pizza crust in Pepsi.
What?
I love dipping pizza crust, or really
that's
thick
that Pepsi brain you
breadsticks.
got, dipsing.
Yeah, I love it. I like it. It's good.
Interesting.
So yeah,
I don't know if I've ever witnessed you doing that.
But like people will take. I've done it before, where you take a French fry and scoop some ice cream up with it and eat that, and that's really
What's
good.
the most naked you've ever eaten a pizza?
Meaning, I was
like
naked.
The stage of your nakedness.
As naked as one can be.
Like glasses?
Oh no. I wanted it to be blurry. I can't remember. I wanted to be lost in it. My version of a deprivation tank is going into a dark room, taking off my clothes and my glasses, and eating a pizza.
Uh-huh.
And I just don't, he goes, anyone there?
So the reason I ask that is Jill's out of town, and so I threw my bathrobe on the other day to walk downstairs, and I was like, oh, you know what? I want just a quick bite of turkey. Just a quick little of turkey. And so I'm eating it, and...
Are you standing at the fridge?
Oh, yes. Yep. I mean, I am standing to the point of where, like, the container doesn't actually even leave the fridge.
Yeah, it's like Tony Soprano and some gabagool.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo, right? And I thought to myself, I was like, no one's around. Why did I even have to put the robe on?
But don't you have a camera inside your house?
Not that can see that right now.
Oh, okay.
So we have 2 cameras, and they face different parts. I'm not going to say what parts of our house they face, so that if a thief is listening to this and they're like, finally, the long con is done. I know where the soft spots are of the Gordon compound. But like you couldn't see, like where the fridge is, you couldn't see it. Mm-hmm. Which is on an interior wall, so good luck trying to get in through the fridge.
I think if I ever broke into anyone's house or facility, I would have the GoldenEye N64 game music playing in my head.
Would you?
The entire time.
Which room?
In GoldenEye?
Yeah, like the facility, the jungle.
The facility.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
that was my favorite level.
I'd have the watch music, like when you're going through the menu.
Oh, yeah.
So you're getting that really nice. But I think I know I've been down to at least next to nothing. I would assume at some point I took off that next to nothing and was in nothing.
Would you like to know something that's happening right now? Like as we are talking in this, I'm receiving messages on Facebook Messenger from a guy named Harrison, because he listed 2 days ago the arcade 1-up version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like arcade, the 4-player front,
like a vintage one.
No, like the arcade 1-up made like a 3/4 scale version of it, right? And it retailed for $700, and it's got the lift, the riser with it, and it's got the one where it's a picture of the April O'Neil in the yellow jumpsuit with like the hair, and like you're like, who is this model?
Right.
We've been staring at her for years, right? And so when I sent him a message, he said I was 9th on the list. And I thought, well, when you're 9th, you're not going to get it, right? So then yesterday he said, hey, you're up to 4th. And now he said I'm 2nd, and he's coming to Fargo. And do I want to be prepared to, like, because he's bringing it to town to sell it to someone, and if it doesn't work out with that buyer, he'll bring it to me.
Yeah, what happened to 1 through 8?
Right. So here's the deal. He's asking $375 for it.
No.
Which is, I mean, it's you can't even get this one anymore. Arcade 1-Up's not making it anymore, right?
Right, yeah.
It is big enough for 2 adult people to play. But
I guess I'm still in shark mode here.
Right. You could never get all 4 on there, right?
Yeah, no.
And here's my worry. If other people have turned it down and I'm 2nd on your list, I'm going to ask right away, like, I need to plug this in, and I'm going to need to play probably the first 3 levels.
You're going to have to watch me.
Right? And so, because I want to make sure that it's not going to glitch out. And then, in all honesty, okay, so what do you talk this? He's asking $375.
Yep.
He's already loaded up into a truck. He brought it to Fargo. If he brings it to me, someone else has already said no or lowballed him so much they didn't get there. Do you think I could get this for $300?
That's the lowest you're going to be able to get it for.
Okay.
The fact that he went through a bunch of other people, I don't think he gets that for. I don't think he can offload it for more than $300.
Think so?
I think so. I think if I'm buying one of those things and I've waited this long to buy it, and I know it would be neat, but I'm guessing what he did was bought it new and then realized, oh, this is actually only so fun for so long.
Bingo.
And then it just becomes less fun. So if I'm going to go buy a thing that I think is in that respect, and I'm going to be the 2nd owner of it, meaning I think I'm going to resell it at some point. I want to be able to resell it for like $250, something along those lines. So I'm thinking $300 is the most it's even worth to buy at this point.
Okay.
Because I don't think you get $300 worth of enjoyment out of it. I don't think you do.
I definitely would, and I'll tell you why. I am showing up to places with this thing. You invite me to a holiday party, I am showing up. I'm bringing it to work for a week. This thing's going to go on tour with me.
Well, what's funny is $300 is my budget for Black Friday deals. And so that's probably why I'm getting more I'm so hung up on the 300 number. But also, I mean, I think that thing is cool. That object is cool. I think I get bored of it in a day.
My other worry here too is that I don't know if I've ever beaten that game, the Ninja Turtles arcade game. I never had enough quarters to get all the way to the end,
right?
Because there is some real bullshit on that game, right? When you fight Rocksteady in the very beginning, you can't avoid those bullets that he charges off, right? I also have this on an NES. I have the arcade version on an NES cartridge, so I could be playing it on a TV right now and be just fine.
You're paying for the case that it's in,
Bingo.
Right? That's the thing that is being provided you, is this kind of cool case that it's in. Now, I would say if you currently had a baby, you had a kid, maybe who is a little bit older than that, then that changes the math, because it's made for their size to grow into, right?
Right.
It's smaller than us, and it's not going to capture the feeling that we had fully. But if I was I'm going to introduce my kid to Turtles, now we're talking a little bit different of do I get a better sense of what I'd be getting out of that thing?
I also want to throw this out there. Arcade 1UP, as they've gotten some interesting things. One year I was really watching because I wanted to get you the X-Men arcade game.
That's exactly what I've been thinking about.
But here's the issue I have with Arcade 1UP. You are making these things at 3/4 scale of an actual arcade cabinet.
Right.
Why
and
not,
1/16 the weight.
Right. Why not just make it full size? You're going to all of this effort to have printed sides and all this stuff. Just make it the full size and charge me an extra $200, because that's my hesitancy with buying some of these arcade replicas, is that they are so small.
Yep.
And there's no let's say I do have a baby. That baby has no nostalgia for going to a birthday party at Showbiz Pizza and playing this thing. I've got the nostalgia for it.
I've run this thought experiment through my head a number of times because of I love vintage video games and the things that we grew up with. And wouldn't that be fun? Obviously, it's always been you've watched any movie that showed a rich kid and they always had some arcade system in their in their palatial, their mansion. But what would actually give me value today would be probably one of those arcade systems that you can either build up yourself, or that does just come prepackaged, but it's an all-in-one system, meaning it plays all the games, right? And if you can get it with a cool Turtles print on the outside, hell yeah, I would totally probably go for that one. Of the game cases that I'm nostalgic for, the one you're talking about is exactly what I would want to go for. But I'd want it to be at minimum 4-player, and I'd want it to have basically every arcade game.
Yep.
You know, so you could play the X-Men arcade game on it. You could play anything else and load it up. And so there's tons of homebrew kits. I've got a buddy who's done one before, and that's on the list, the long list of hobbies I'd like to get into one day for sure. But I think you could even build one of those for less than $300.
Okay.
Raspberry Pi computer for $30.
Dear Harrison, my friend Tucker says that you are asking too much. Would you accept $200? ?
Dude, if you get $200 for it, I will.
That's worth it, right?
That's
I can
usually
get $200 worth of fun out of it.
Here's what we're saying is worth it: is the feeling that you just saved $100 is really the thing. It's what's it actually fucking worth?
When sometimes they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and there are a lot of things that distinguish you from your dad, but your need for a deal and your dad's need for a deal, I feel like that is something that got passed down through your genes.
It's there. However, I recognize it as being pathological. And just because something is a deal isn't enough for me to get it, right? And I think part of it is just logical.
Now you never know.
True.
What happens once you hit 50.
No, true. Well, I'm only 11 and a half years away from that. So
yeah. And so was your dad when he was 38 and a half.
That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information.
The guy ghosted me, but he said if I have any old propane tanks, he'll take those.